In a dark corner of memory, there are stories that are not merely read, they inhabit us. Stories that open doors to worlds filled not only with monsters, but with humans too. Those whose faces speak the silent language of horror. And among the writers of this genre, one name stands out. A man who redefined psychological horror in Korean manhwa, Carnby Kim. He is not a writer who creates worlds that attack you from the outside. He plants his monsters within you, forcing you to ask, is the danger out there or in here? His four most famous works, Bastard, Sweet Home, Shotgun Boy, and Pigpen, are not just horror stories. They are mirrors that reflect our fragility, our wounds, and the evil that quietly lives within us. In this video, we will travel together through these four tales, dissecting them, decoding their symbols, and discovering how Kim turned horror into a tool for thought before it became a tool for fear. Enjoy. Bastard. The story begins with Bastard, the work that placed Carnby Kim firmly on the global manhwa map. In this story, there is no supernatural monster, no apocalypse, only a father. A father who holds a knife in one hand and his son's heart in the other. Jin-sen, a quiet, disabled boy, lives in what appears to be a safe home, but it is in truth the stage of repeated murders. His father is a serial killer, a cold, methodical predator who hunts his victims with surgical precision, forcing his son to become a silent accomplice. But what makes Bastard truly unique isn't just the tight, suspenseful plot, it's the moral wound it carves in us. While heroes in other stories run from monsters, Jin must run from his father. Hiding from the world is one thing. Hiding from your home is another entirely. The horror here is not in the blood or the violence, but in the betrayal of love. A child born into the heart of evil asked to smile at it. A house that should protect becomes a cage. Through Bastard, Kim turns familial horror into a philosophical mirror that asks, what if the ones we love the most are the first we should fear? I had already summarized this story in an older video on my channel, but every time I revisit it, its questions still echo. Sweet Home. After Bastard, Kim moved to a larger world, one collapsing from the inside just as humanity does. Sweet Home tells the story of Cha Hyun-soo, a reclusive teenager drowning in depression. He moves into a gray apartment complex where smiles are rare and hope is even rarer. But when humans begin turning into monsters, it becomes clear that the apocalypse wasn't caused by a virus, but by human desire itself. The monsters here are not lizards or mythical beasts. They are the precise embodiment of suppressed longing. Those who craved excessive beauty turn into grotesque faces. Those who sought limitless strength become mindless lumps of flesh. Those who sought immortality become prisoners of their own decaying bodies. Each monster tells the story of a human being. Each transformation is not an infection, but a late confession. Amid the ruins, Hyun-soo stands torn between his desire to die and his will to live. It's a journey that doesn't just test the instinct to survive, but questions the very meaning of being human. In Sweet Home, Kim expands the scale of horror from a single house to an entire society to tell us, you don't need the end of the world to create monsters. All you need is to give humans a reason to lose themselves. Here emerges another philosophical layer in his work. The horror doesn't come from outside, it's born within, from every desire that never found its way to light. Then came Shotgun Boy, a return to the roots of collapse. It's not merely a prequel to Sweet Home, but a magnifying lens focused on the exact moment when everything begins to crack. The story follows Gyohan, a bullied boy, shattered, insecure, and drained of faith in himself and in others. At his breaking point, he discovers a rusty shotgun. No one knows that this gun will change everything. As he faces his painful past, he finds himself in the middle of an invasion of monstrous creatures, and almost by accident, becomes one of the few who stand to protect others. But the real battle isn't with the monsters, it's with the one inside him. The shotgun he holds is not just a weapon, it's a symbol of repressed anger, of broken dignity, of the fragile line between the weakness that breeds violence and the weakness that forges strength. What makes this story devastating is the truth it whispers. The monster doesn't appear suddenly, it grows with us. Bullying, injustice, exclusion, all are seeds that germinate in the shadows, and when darkness comes, only violence blooms. Pigpen, the horror of the self. If Kim's previous works played on the fear of people, then Pigpen plays on the fear of self. A man awakes on the shore of a deserted island. His memory is wiped clean. No name, no past, no explanation. He finds himself in a house with a strange family where nothing feels right. The quiet is not safety, it's a warming. Every smile hides a secret. Every glance carries a threat. The island in Pigpen is not just a place, it's a state of being, a total detachment from the world and from truth itself. Here, there are no monsters running around, only doubt crawling in every corner. You don't know who you are, nor who they are. And every time you think you've understood the story, its shape shatters like a broken mirror. In this work, Kim reaches the pinnacle of his psychological style. He abandons blood and destruction, and instead relies on suffocating silence, pulling the reader into the same haze of confusion as the protagonist. It's a work that doesn't give you answers, it forces you to live the questions. When we look at these 4 stories as a single canvas, we realize that Carnby Kim does not write traditional horror. He doesn't care how many monsters appear. He cares how many times the reader will look at themselves after the story ends. For him, horror isn't a creature, it's a state of existence. In Bastard, the monster is the father. In Sweet Home, the monster is desire. In Shotgun Boy, the monster is rage. In Pigpen, the monster is the self. He works evolve like a map, moving from the inside out, from the home to society, and from society to memory, from family crime to the end of the world, and finally to the depths of the human psyche. His narrative style is calm, cold, yet profoundly painful. He builds tension not through shock, but through slow suffocation. He replaces screams with silence and jump scares with reflection. The fear in his stories doesn't strike suddenly, it seeps in quietly, not to simply frighten you, but to make you wonder, was I the monster all along? In the end, Carnby Kim's works are not just stories meant to entertain horror fans, they are shattered mirrors reflecting the faces we try to forget. Each of us carries deep inside a terrifying father like in Bastard, a desire waiting for the moment to turn monstrous like in Sweet Home, a buried anger like in Shotgun Boy, and a shadow that follows us like in Pigpen. Maybe that's why I love this kind of story, because it doesn't say, there's a monster out there. It whispers instead, the monster is inside. Wake up! Carnby Kim has turned horror into art into a question, and that question into an echo, that one that lingers in the heart long after the last page is turned.